Hello, good morning.
Mm.
We have a little slot to talk about a project that's on our hearts that is sort of moving forwards with us at Lead, really, or our church at Lead, but also the other churches interested. That's something we're going to call the Psalm 23 Garden in Floral Farm. And I just wanted to set the scene for you and Wendy, David, to take on where we've got to so far and show us how hard you've worked on this actually to bring it to where it is at the moment. And it started when Chris Tebbert asked me to be on the Kingfisher committee for the disabled people to come by the river which ended up on the Camford school platform. And in doing that and actually starting to look at that, I myself was just retiring, and I got to look at various bits of nature. So I started going bird watching, I was looking at the flowers and so on, and I myself had this experience that the Lord was instantly there. When I was in the present, and I was in the present in nature, then he's there to talk to feel his presence. And you can feel, I think, almost like Adam and Eve, that you're walking in the garden with the Lord. It's an experience I hadn't really had before, and so I started praying that we would find some way to bring that to our community around us. And I felt right the way through, as I prayed regularly for that the Lord was going to do something, and that he was going to raise somebody else up to do it, but I would support that. About 18 months, 2 years ago, I took the Saturday morning Kingfisher group down to the graveyard to actually look at insects, and then discovered the field at the end, or the little plot of land there. And I was with Dominic Stubbings as well, and he said, you know, this could be a space, and I'm thinking, well, this could be a contemplative space where people from the community could come and just unwind and be present and actually meet with God there.
Okay, thanks very much, Karen. Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't know anything about the same plot of land, and I literally tripped over it one day. I think I was taking a shortcut through or something, and I found it, and I mentioned it to Jane Hazel and Chris Heppenstall, and they said, oh, you know, we've been trying to do something with this piece of land for a long, long time, and never really managed to work out what to do with it. And it just so happened that I showed Wendy it, and you had some thoughts, didn't you?
Well, yeah, like Karen, I love all things nature. And so when David told me about this plot of land, I said, oh, we've got to go and have a look. And my first reaction was sadness, actually, that we had this space that nobody knew about, and it was looking a bit sad and sorry. And but then that quickly gave way to the idea, similar to Karen, wow, what an opportunity. What a fantastic space if we could make this into a garden for people to come to. And then I remembered hearing about the Bible Society's Psalm 23 garden for the Chelsea Flower Show. And my mind began to, work overtime. And I was thinking, what if we could do something like this? And I came home and just did a very rough sketch. Looked like an 8-year-old drew it because I can't draw. But then the incredible thing was, well, two incredible things. Firstly, that we began to find out that people like Karen and Chris Heppenstall had been praying and thinking about this piece of land for far longer than we even knew it existed. So it wasn't our idea. God had already gone before us, and that's hugely exciting. But then the other exciting thing was the sketch that I drew when we actually went back to the plot of land. We found all sorts of things were already in place, like he leads me by still waters. There's actually a little brook to one side of the garden, and through the valley of shadows, there are overhanging laurels to the other side of the garden. And so you can tell I'm pretty excited about this.
Shall I show people where it is? Because we've got a little.
Yes. Yes.
Yay, you can see it.
Is that sharing properly now? There we go. So, behind Fall Farm, this is the old cemetery here at the right-hand side, and this is the plot at the left-hand side. It's about 42 metres square, and on a map it would look like that, and the red line shows you that it's inside the conservation area, and that means that we actually have to ask for planning permission. But some photographs of what it actually looks like at the moment will follow. Here we go. It's a bit messy in places. Do you want to say anything at all about anything, darling, or shall I just?
Yeah, well, there's the little brook, which obviously at different times of the year is quite full and then not so much. But we would love to make that into a pond area to attract wildlife. Those are the overhanging laurels, which we would love to make a pathway through. That's the view down towards the cemetery. Now, last time I was there, I sat on one of those tree stumps while the garden designers, we'll come on to talking about design in a minute, were doing their thing. And it was so quiet. And I just sat and listened to the birds and watched the butterflies. And after what had been a very busy week, it was just so beautiful to sit there and drink in God's presence.
So we're pushed for time, so I'll leave that bit there really. As Wendy just said, that we've, as a subcommittee, we have engaged some garden designers, and Karen and we, and I'm hoping one or two others, will meet with them this Wednesday to see what the first part of the design looks like, and then once we've got a design in place, we can look at a few other things as well. So, Karen, do you want me to share a few items for prayer on this?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So we were thinking we need God to be glorified is the bottom line in all of this. People come and discover him in the garden, and they meet with Jesus. I get quite emotional about it actually, but so we need to pray for wisdom in the design process, favour with the local authority and our neighbours in gaining planning permission, and for us to get the right people involved at the right time. And then, of course, we need favour with fundraising in order to facilitate the creation of the whole garden. Once we've got the design in place, we're going to need help. So it's pray, help, and funding really are the three strap lines. We're going to need help. We're going to be able to ask people to help with the planning application process and certain tasks. Regards funding, Karen is actually already on the lookout for sources of grant funding for green space projects such as this one. And we may also be able to apply for local authority community infrastructure funding as well. But we are going to need to raise some local funding between the three churches. And this Psalm 23 garden, let's call it, is actually a stone's throw from Mike Tufnell's back garden. If he was a good cricketer, he could probably throw a ball straight into the little pond. So he's very excited about it.
Can I say one last thing about community? Is there time? Yeah. I think this is really a crucial project at this time to draw together community, both in the making of the garden and bringing community together to enjoy the garden, which is so important after such a lengthy time of lockdown and isolation. And it's been proven that open spaces are really, really good for mental health. And I hope more than good for our mental health, actually really good for us spiritually, to come and engage with God, even if people don't have the words or the framework to know they're engaging with God yet, that they will come and they will discover that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.